Xenophobic attacks erupt in Zambia, with at least 7 people killed. Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton move a step closer to securing their party's nominations with big wins in New York. And African artists make a dynamic entry in the Western contemporary art establishment. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent McCory. This is Africa 54. Now, at least 2 people have been burned to death during riots in Zambia that targeted Rwandan-owned shops over allegations that foreigners were behind a string of ritual killings in Lusaka. The violence erupted early this week in slum areas of the capital after the recent murders of at least 7 people whose body parts, such as ears, hearts and genitals, have been removed. Hundreds of residents stoned houses and shops owned by foreign nationals, with some foreigners seeking refuge at police stations as looters took food, drinks and electrical appliances. Minister of Home Affairs Davis Mwela blamed the riots on false allegations that a suspected ritual killer of foreign nationality had been released from police custody. Several thousand refugees from Rwanda live in Lusaka. They run many of the shops in the affected parts of the city, and residents have accused them of using the body parts for witchcraft. Now, for more on the Zambian riots, reporter Daniel Tonga joins me by phone from Lusaka. Hello, Daniel.
Hello, Vincent. Thank you so much indeed for having me.
Yes. Now, first tell us about this issue of ritual killings. Have there been many reports of ritual killings in the last few weeks, eh?
Well, thank you very much, Vincent. First of all, let me start at the xenophobia and suspected ritual killings that have happened in Zambia happening for the first time. And this is a country that has a long history of political stability, a country well known for upholding Christian values and good governance. And recent xenophobia and suspected killings have, shocked many Zambians, and many of the people right now, they're trying to come to terms with what happened. Just to give you an update of what has happened so far is that the police have arrested 11 people suspected to have been involved in the ritual killings of at least 7 people. And what we are hearing right now is that the police have been deployed in all the areas, what they call the flashpoints, in where violence and the looting of goods of shops owned by foreigners was happening.
Now, the question is, Daniel, is there any evidence that any of those ritual killings were done or committed by a foreign national, and specifically somebody from Rwanda?
Well, it's not to say that everything that has happened so far really is just happening on suspicion. These are just suspicion. There isn't really any evidence that points to the fact that any of the foreign nationals were involved in these suspected ritual killings. These are just rumors that were going around, and then the same rumors actually are the ones that really sparked the violence. So far, we haven't heard of any evidence. We haven't seen any evidence that really suggests that it is the foreigners that are involved in these killings. And it is believed that 4 suspects that were earlier on, arrested were carrying body parts. But that we're still waiting, because according to what the police were saying is that the people that were arrested carrying body parts were detained by the police, and the same body parts, they are just waiting for them to be put to forensic tests to establish whether the body parts were really that of humans.
Now, very quickly, Daniel, have there been any tensions? Has there been any tension between Zambians and foreigners in the last few months for any reason whatsoever?
Well, there hasn't really been any tension between Rwanda and Zambia. And I must say that Zambia and Rwanda enjoys a very, very good relationship. And Zambia is home to about 6,000 Rwandans that came after the 1994 genocide in Zambia. So it is really a home to a lot of Rwandans, and it's so sad that really this thing has happened. But when we talk of relationship, really the relationship has been cordial between the two countries.
Well, Daniel, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Daniel Tonga reporting by phone live there from Lusaka in Zambia. Well, Kenya's female fish sellers on the shores of Lake Victoria are having to pay a high price for their supplies, as well as buying the fish. They're expected to sleep with the fishermen in order to get the best catch of the day. Now, this system is known in the local Luo language as jaboya. This exploitation of women has become a hot topic because it has caused the HIV rates to soar, and now NGOs are looking to see what can be done to stop the behavior. Tony Onyulo reports.
Under the scorching sun on the shores of Lake Victoria, the fish trade is booming. In fact, fish is the economic engine of Kisumu, Kenya's third largest city. Buyers and sellers throng the open-air fish markets on the shoreline. Small wooden fishing boats compete for space, carrying in the morning catch of tilapia, perch, and catfish. For the many women who queue to haggle with the fishermen, it at times takes more than just getting a fair price. In a region steeped in poverty, some fishermen try to ask for more from these women. Often they demand sexual favors from female fish merchants in order to get them the best catch of the day. The practice is common and is known as jaboya in a local Luo language.
What jaboya means, exchanging the body with the fish. After giving the fish, you have to pay for it, and the payment is just your body. So this is why they are called jaboya.
Maureen Nyango in her early 30s prepares her latest purchase for the market, descaling the fish and slitting them open to remove their innards. The widow and a mother of two said she had little choice but to give sexual favors if she wanted to succeed in the bustling market.
So I was involved in this system so that I can get something for the day to feed my children.
Anyango is among the many women in part of Kenya who are selling their bodies in the hope of earning a living in the fish-based economy. According to a local NGO, around 95% of women who engage in fish trade end up having sex with fishermen in order to get fish. Naomi Okoth, a mother of 8 who lost her husband in early 2000, says sex, not for money, is the currency of women on Lake Victoria.
Until and unless you have jaboya, you won't have fish. This is because jaboya would want me to befriend him first so as to get fish. I might have enough money and will want some kind of fish. But since I'm not one of his mistress, he won't give me the fish. So we have no option but to befriend them to get daily supply of fish.
However, fishermen here say they are engaging in sex for fish trade to help women continue with their business.
The women come with money so as to buy fish from us. At times their money is not enough, so they have to pay us in kind by sleeping with us.
But women like Anyango are not so flip about the situation. Tony Onyulo for Voice of America in Kisumu, Kenya.
Well, the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, Samantha Power, says the United States will provide nearly $40 million in new humanitarian assistance for nations in Africa's Lake Chad region to provide aid to people whose lives have been affected by Boko Haram violence. Power made the announcement Tuesday in Cameroon after meetings with President Paul Biya, Prime Minister Philemon Yang, and Defense Minister Joseph Pieti Osomo. Power says that during those meetings, she told the officials that the U.S. is committed to partnering with Cameroon to defeat the Boko Haram militant group, which operates mainly in the Lake Chad basin, where the borders of Cameroon, Nigeria, Niger, and Chad meet. Now, the failure of South Sudanese opposition leader Riek Machar to return to Juba Tuesday, the second such delay this week, has put the war-torn country's peace deal at risk. That's according to international monitors. Machar was expected to return to the capital this week to form a transitional government with President Salva Kiir after 2.5 years of war, but cancelled at the last minute. The opposition says Machar did not return because the government did not approve a flight carrying his top generals. And the government says the general tried to bring hundreds of unauthorized soldiers with him. U.S. President Barack Obama has met with Saudi Arabia's King Salman in Riyadh amid increasingly tense relations and persistent differences over how to combat terrorism and regional conflicts. The president landed in Riyadh on Wednesday, where he was greeted by a Saudi delegation. Obama went on to meet with the king at Erga Palace. Salman told Obama he and the Saudi people are very pleased about the visit, the U.S. leader's fourth as president. President Obama responded. The American people sent their greetings. He also thanked the king for hosting the Gulf Cooperation Council summit on Thursday. The United States and its Arab partners will address pressing issues facing the region at the summit, which will be attended by the GCC alliance of 6 Gulf states, including Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Bahrain, and Oman. Republican Donald Trump and Democrat Hillary Clinton were the big winners Tuesday in the New York presidential primary. Trump won the lion's share of the 95 convention delegates at stake in New York, while Clinton added to her significant delegate lead over rival Bernie Sanders. Here's VOA's national correspondent Jim Malone.
It was a big night in his home state for Republican frontrunner Donald Trump.
I have great admiration and praise for the city of New York and the state of New York. I can think of nowhere that I would rather have this victory. So we love you all. Have a great evening. We celebrate. And tomorrow morning we go back to work.
Trump easily defeated rivals John Kasich and Ted Cruz. The billionaire businessman increased his delegate lead and took a major step towards securing the Republican Party's presidential nomination. Both Kasich and Cruz vowed to battle on in hopes of forcing a contested Republican convention in July. Kasich campaigned in Maryland in advance of its primary next week.
I think they're going to make a pick my way. That's what I believe. And there's one other thing. I'm the only one here with the positive message, the unifying message. I think the party ought to have a choice when it comes to that.
Cruz spoke to supporters in Pennsylvania, which also holds a primary next Tuesday.
Will we continue to live in the past with what we know no longer works, or will we move forward to a new and better place? The people in state after state have made it clear. They cry out for a new path.
In the Democratic primary, frontrunner Hillary Clinton scored a big win over resilient rival Bernie Sanders.
Thank you, New York! The race for the Democratic nomination is in the home stretch, and victory is in sight.
Clinton will take more delegates than Sanders in New York to add to her mounting lead. But Sanders vowed to fight on during a campaign stop in Pennsylvania and insisted he would be the stronger Democratic candidate in November.
And the American people are catching on that if we are going to prevent Trump or some other Republican from occupying the White House, which would be a disaster for our country, we have got the campaign to make sure that that does not happen.
Both Clinton and Trump got to vote for themselves in the primary because New York is their home state. Tuesday's results increased the chances that the two-party frontrunners will face off in the general election later this year. Jim Malone, VOA News, Washington.
We want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. Check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Find me on Twitter at VOA Vince McCory. Well, coming up, helping at-risk youth in Senegal with hip-hop. Stay with us.
Health news and notes. This is Living Better.
It's the newest tool in the battle against diabetes, a high-tech electrochemical patch. worn daily in a transparent band around the wrist to detect temperature, pH level, and glucose level from the sweat of the wearer. But it's more than that. When the patch senses the wearer needs medication, microneedles accurately deliver it from inside the patch. It was developed by Professor Kim Dae-hyung of Seoul National University.
Diabetics are very reluctant to measure blood sugar or get an insulin shot in public. However, this technology makes diabetes management painless.
The innovative device isn't yet available. However, Professor Kim expects it may take about 5 years to get it certified and on the market. There are well over 400 million diabetics worldwide, and the number is on the rise. I'm Martin Seacrest for VOA's Living Better.
There was action outside the debate hall.
Political season is about to change, too.
VOA News, Las Vegas.
But in business news, trading relations continue to strengthen between Africa and China. For more details on the latest development, Jill Malandrino, our Africa 54 business correspondent, joins us live from New York. Hi, Jill.
Hey, Vincent. I think this could possibly be one of the biggest global business stories for years to come. During the 2016 World Bank IMF Spring Conference, the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria said that China has appointed South Africa, Kenya, and Nigeria as its 3 main trading hubs. This follows the announcement that Nigeria's President Buhari secured an additional $6 billion in U.S. dollars in investments from China.
Now, what is China's motivation in expanding this trade with Africa, and how will it benefit the continent in the long run?
On the surface, China's primary motivation is its desire to secure a solid base of raw materials to fuel the growing economy. I would also argue that China is trying to grow its global political influence, and the emerging markets of Africa present a great opportunity. Africa benefits because the infrastructure is still largely underdeveloped in key areas such as utilities, telecommunications, port construction, and transportation.
Now, is it really so early to tell whether this China-Africa relationship will be a success? Because we know there are people on the continent who are skeptical about it.
Like any relationship, like a marriage, it takes a lot of work. And to be fair, a lot of analysis on the subject slants to what does China get out of this? Civil society groups in Africa criticize China's business practices and human rights issues. There's a fear that it might resort to neo-colonial control. But think of it like this. Chinese-African trade is expected to double by 2020. In fact, it already is more than twice that of the U.S. So if both parties can pass the major tests of trust and healthy business practices, the Chinese-African dynamic could launch their economies to compete with more developed markets like the U.S. on a very major scale.
The show will be talking a lot more about this. Jill, thank you very much for your reporting.
Thank you.
Africa 54 business correspondent Jill Malandrino reporting live from New York. Well, it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54, a New York exhibit spotlights art with an African perspective. We'll be right back.
Qui était en mission au nord de Kidal, dans la région de Abeiba.
Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. They tell you what people are talking about. So, for an in-depth look at the stories trending high on social media, turn to #VOA. It's not your typical talk show. From politics to pop culture, #VOA brings in the people leading the conversation, engages the audience, and gets answers to your questions. #VOA. Smart talk for smart people.
Welcome back to Africa 54, and here's what's trending. Well, young people in Senegal are turning away from a life of crime thanks to a new music and arts program. A pair of Senegalese rap artists have set up a hip-hop youth center in Guédiawaye, a poor suburb of Dakar, to teach rapping, street art and music production to local young people. Every 2 weeks, both male and female artists at the G Hip Hop Center have the chance to take to the stage and perform with professional equipment. The center has some 250 members who must pay an annual fee of $4 to register for 3-month courses of their choice, such as DJing, graffiti art, and breakdancing. Well, next up, surgery can be stressful for patients and their families. Now, to help ease anxiety, hospitals are starting a new texting message service before, during, and after surgeries. Now, the Children's Hospital of Wisconsin uses the service for tonsillectomies and some spinal surgeries, and will soon expand the service to include more procedures. Now, offer the text link to informative videos, including reminders about not eating before surgery or post-operative care at home. During some procedures, families can get real-time updates wherever they are. A small pilot study done by the hospital shows no one who participated in the early text effort canceled appointments or needed urgent care afterwards. Well, next up, the development of increasingly sophisticated technology means we can now heat and freeze our way to looking fresher and more youthful, and even get rid of that extra chin fat. Well, these ice-cold globes have been they've been stored in freezers in temperatures down to -30. Now, the process is said to smooth out wrinkles, tight, tense pores, and reduce redness. The machines concentrate on difficult-to-reach problem areas like muscles under the upper arms. Hands are treated with a micro-needling machine that pierces the skin with tiny needles to kickstart the growth of collagen. And that is what is trending today. Now, African artists are making a dynamic entry in the Western contemporary art establishment. Last year, for the first time ever, an art critic born in Nigeria, Okui Enwesor, curated the venerable Venice Biennial in Italy. This year, African artists are the focus of a major art show in New York City. Africa 54's Zoe Ludeke went there to check things out.
African art and artists from the continent and the diaspora are the focus of a major art show here in New York City, the Armory Show.
The exhibit is a venerated New York tradition that for 22 years introduces newcomers to the international art market and solidifies or even enhances the sales record of established artists. This year, 205 galleries and dealers from all over the world showed the work of over 2,000 artists to a large number of visitors. I arrived a few hours before the official opening to find out what was different about this show this year. Well, this is the first time the Armory included a show devoted to African perspectives. Curated by Julia Grosse, and Yvette Mutumba.
One of our main ideas was to, really present a rich variety of positions. So, photographers, installation artists, painters, artists who work with sculptures, etc. And to have a lot of young artists, young positions, so born between late 70s, early 90s. And really to underline this idea of African perspectives means, artists coming from others living in Joburg, in London, in New York. All of them, not African artists, but from African perspectives.
Often, the art market creates hype, focusing on art from different places to move ideas along and create new markets.
We see it as a really good thing because it brings forward all the interesting things that are happening on the continent in the diaspora in terms of young artists, critics, art spaces. And so I think it's a good moment, really, to just make visible what has been there for a while, though. It's not like something that just happened.
Of course, it has always been a big interest in buying contemporary art from African perspectives. Of course, at the moment, everybody's talking about a hype. Everybody wants to grab a little piece of that cake. There are a lot of local buyers as well in, each country's communities. Let's say Nigeria has a big, collector scene, and it's not only that, Western collectors fly in and buy the stuff. A lot of Chinese or Asian collectors are interested in buying art from African perspectives now as well, now that they have, doing business with Africa.
Excitement is high for Addis Fine Art, the youngest art gallery in the mix and a first-time participant in the Armory show.
We're showing a solo booth of an artist called Emmanuel Tagana. He's a young painter who lives and works in Addis Ababa. And as you can see, he uses this really bold, colorful aesthetic to talk about social experiences that he's had.
Emmanuel Tagana's art talks about racism, often symbolized by the image of a banana. He also uses the image of a razor as a metaphor for hypocrisy in the political system.
Well, we're hoping to really showcase artists from Ethiopia. That's the main aim of our gallery, to have a local space and to have an international platform for the artists that we represent. So participating at the Armory Show and in wider other art fairs is a key component to our works.
Both Julia Grosse and Yvette Mutumba aspire to make art with an African perspective mainstream, to the point that people think about the art and not necessarily the origin of the creator. Zoe Liudaki for Africa 54, New York.
And that's our show. Have a good night.
Welcome to English in a Minute. You would think that an elephant would be easy to see, but that is not the case with this idiom.
Elephant in the room.
I really don't want to go to the meeting today.
Why? Just sit there and nod your head like I do.
But nobody is willing to talk about the elephant in the room.
What elephant?
The fact that our company has no money, broke.
Oh, that elephant in the room. Yeah, don't bring that up. Nobody wants to talk about that.
An elephant in the room is a problem that everyone knows about but does not want to talk about. It also refers to a truth everyone knows but ignores. A problem shouldn't be ignored, and neither should an elephant in the room with you. And that's English in a Minute.